Now, tell me about the last of the 7 principles.
The last principle is caution. Next to the habit of drifting, the most dangerous human trait is the lack of caution.
Welcome back to the House of Ajay, Oshun Ajay exclusive, and No Narc Network TV. I am the Oracle, Oshun Ajay. We have officially reached the 33rd and final lesson in the Dissecting the Devil book study, my people, at the end of which we will have officially dissected Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Let's get it.
People drift into all sorts of hazardous circumstances because they do not exercise caution by planning the moves they make. The drifter always moves without exercising caution. He acts first and thinks later, if at all.
So the drifter always moves without exercising caution, okay? Acting first and thinking later. This would explain the phenomenon of ghosting.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. Thank you so much for your subscription and stopping by. So today's video is about ghosting and the silent treatment. So the silent treatment is the narcissist, they see it as an opportunity to inflict psychological warfare on you. So what they're trying to do when the narcissist ghosts you and when they give you the silent treatment, there's many reasons behind it, but I'm going to give you the main reasons. So it's to teach you how to behave. So if you say this to them, or it's their way of saying, if you say this, if you do this to me, this is what's going to happen. So it's a form of psychological manipulative technique that the narcissist uses, and it's a form of punishment, psychological punishment. So they'll be like, how dare you accuse me?
Even though 99.9% of the time they are guilty, they still want to tell you,
don't challenge me, this is what's going to happen. Bottom line, they're basically saying that this is what's going to happen.
So you're constantly being threatened with abandonment anytime you ask them to acknowledge their unacceptable behavior.
So they want you to suffer. And they get narcissistic supply from your pain. They don't want to face the consequences or, deal with the emotional discomfort. They will never give you closure. They will just ghost you out of thin air. You won't get a phone call, no text message, nothing. They don't care about your feelings. They lack empathy and remorse. So the narcissists, they don't take any accountability for their wrongdoings. They're like basically trying to say, do not question me or my bad behavior.
Because if you do,
you won't get any text messages, phone calls, nothing. It'll be like they just fell off the face of the earth.
So in order for ghosting to be effective, the narcissist depends on you being codependent. The abandonment is a repetitive cycle of behavior that they repeat each time you try to check them about their bad behavior. If over time you built up your strength like I did and got used to being without them, the next time they ghost you, lock the door behind them and the trash will have taken itself out. Okay?
He does not choose his friends. He drifts along and allows people to attach themselves to him on their own terms.
You see, there is no such thing as getting something for nothing. Even when you first come into this world, you take your breath, you breathe in, and then you breathe out and you give it back. It's called the law of exchange. You see, whatever you take, you got to give back. It's a law. To acquire something, you have to be able to give a service, render a service, provide something. So if you find yourself around people who are not adding value to you, who aren't reciprocating the energy that you're giving to them,
like the narc-on-narc entanglements that are popping up everywhere now that the empaths are waking up and taking our power back,
unfortunately, that may be a sign that you got to cut them off.
He does not choose an occupation. He drifts through school and is glad to get the first job that will give him food and clothing.
So the narcissist dreams about the things that they want to do, but they lack the ambition and courage to actually go after it and make it happen.
He invites people to cheat him at trade by neglecting to inform himself of the rules of trade.
If your ultimate goal is to be famous, then you're gonna do a lot to get there, like sign your name in blood in a contract with the devil.
I kind of sang about, what was going on in my life at 15, and that's how I got introduced to the music industry. I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music. Yeah. But it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil. Well, needless to say, sold my soul. It's a dance with the devil. I'm a cure, real wrestle. It's a dance with the devil.
I'm trapped. If I can go back, I never would have rapped. I sold my soul to the devil. I'll never get it back. I just want to leave.
Do you record while the bus is moving, or does it have to come to a stop?
Yeah, well, sometimes they don't want to, and they're, Gaga, we can't get, the frequency's weird, and, it's sounding a little bit strange, and I'm like, if you don't get this right now, I swear to Lucifer, I'm gonna, I get a little bit mad.
I sold my soul to the devil. I know it's a crappy deal. Lisa came with a few toys like a Happy Meal.
Why is your hand over your eye?
Because I'm a devil worshiper. What are you talking about?
Alright, well, I have tickets to see the devil worshiper.
Roman is a crazy boy who lives in me. And he says the things that I don't want to say. He was born, just a few months ago. I think he was born out of rage. He was conceived in rage. So he bashes everyone. He threatens to beat people, and he's violent.
That must be nice to have like an ignorant loudmouth who you can just sort of blame every...
He wants to be blamed. I don't want to blame him. I ask him to leave, but he can't. He's here for a reason. People have brought him out. People conjured him up. Now he won't leave.
I never listened to Nicki Minaj, so that's no loss. So she worships the devil, I heard anyway, so.
And boy, I got you. Hey, guessing that I'm making deals with the devil, and I know it's gonna get me in trouble. I gave into the fire. I know I should have fought it. At least I'm being honest. I know that this is my fault. I should have been more careful.
The devil's got them to me. The business. Baby, come back to me. Die for you. Die for you. I sell my soul to the devil.
You're still out here doing these songs, you're still on tour.
I do, but I don't take it for granted.
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I made a bargain with it, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And on this earth, and then in the world we can't see.
I keep on dancing with the devil. You and I made a deal. I was young and shit got real. We've been through hell and back. Oh, he's got my mind. He's got my soul. Mama, he won't let me go.
Selling my soul for material wishes, fast cars and bitches. In my cola business, I sold my soul.
Dear God, I wonder can you save me? I can't die, my boo-boo's about to have my baby. I think it's too late for praying. Hold up, her voice spoke to me and it slowly started saying,
bring your lifestyle to me, I'll make it better.
And how long will I live?
Eternal life and forever.
Or will I be the G that I was?
I make your life better. better than you can imagine or even dream of. So relax your soul, let me take control. Close your eyes, my soul.
My eyes are closed.
I met the devil in God's country. You know, and it's not so much who, it's what, you know, what happens and the things that the devil does. It's not so much a person, even though he acts through people. You know, you can't call one person the devil.
Joe Arpaio?
You know, you can't call any one person the devil. You can't do that because no one person has enough power to be the devil. You know?
And I just think that the whole idea of celebrity and fame has become really convoluted and, you know, kind of bastardized, like whereas fame used to be the byproduct of success and now it's the ultimate goal. I've seen so many people like forsake their moral code and their value systems just for a little bit of fame, and it's not worth it at the end of the day. It's really not worth it.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
He invites illness by neglecting to inform himself of the rules of sound health.
Simple rule of modern eating. Fatty foods in huge portions are bad for you. But you're about to enter a dietary twilight zone, a restaurant that makes the potentially harmful nature of its food a selling point. Its name, get this, the Heart Attack Grill. And they do bring a certain whimsical comedy to serving up giant versions of meals that have been American favorites for generations. But as Ryan Owen explains, beyond the comedy are some very real health concerns.
In a country where calories are posted on the menu and the White House has a vegetable garden, sometimes the reality looks more like this. This monument to greasy gluttony is called the Heart Attack Grill.
PBR.
It's a sort of hospital-themed Hooters located in Chandler, Arizona, a suburb of Phoenix.
We have full sugar Mexican Coke. Get your arms in over here.
Every customer must wear a hospital gown.
I'm dying.
And they are waited on by scantily clad nurses. Still, it's what's on the menu that gets most of the attention. The single, double, triple, or quadruple bypass burger. Oh, and they do have fries called flatliner fries, fried in lard, and those are unlimited. To wash it all down, how about a butterfat shake? The restaurant has become a bit of a national sensation.
I'm up another few inches.
In no small part, thanks to this very big man, Blair River, the so-called spokesmodel of the Heart Attack Grill, featured in a series of tongue-in-cheek commercials that have gone viral.
I'm at 570 pounds, 6'8", yeah, so.
We met Blair in January. Back then, he told us one of the perks of the job is eating free. Anyone who is over 350 pounds doesn't have to pay.
I'm big, you know what I mean? And so why not? I don't eat here every day, so why not have fun with it and go with it as long as I can?
Sadly, we now know how long that was. Blair died last week at the age of 29. His family says the cause of death was pneumonia. The CDC says every year, 112,000 deaths can be linked to obesity. When your spokesperson drops dead at the age of 29, and he's morbidly obese by anybody's estimation, don't you have a problem?
Absolutely. Who wouldn't?
John Basso owns the Heart Attack Grill. As part of the act, he dresses up like a doctor.
Every single person cared about Blair. Had he have been thinner, he most probably would have survived that pneumonia. And that's a hard fact that I'm not here to deny.
There's an argument to be made that you used this guy during his life, and that now you are very morbidly using his death to continue to promote your restaurant.
I absolutely agree. And in a very sick way, his death has gotten the message out further.
So this man's death has not given you pause at all?
Zero pause.
For a man who is making an awful lot of money serving up artery-clogging burgers, Basso has a most unusual justification, that America needs shock therapy to cure its obesity epidemic. He says he tried other messages. He once owned a chain of Jenny Craig weight loss centers and several personal training studios.
I hope that every single person out there comes in and buys a hamburger and a t-shirt from me. But you know what? I am saying loudly and as clearly as any business in America can, this is dangerous.
So you're trying to send the message about health concerns as clearly and loudly as you possibly can, yet you still hope that everyone comes in, ignores your loud and clear message about your burgers being dangerous, and you hope that they still buy the burgers from you.
Oh, he's using it as a marketing tool. I mean, the word that just leaps to mind is hypocrisy.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
He invites poverty by neglecting to protect himself against the environmental influences of the poverty-stricken.
This is like a little cubby hole, a great little place for someone who is homeless and wants to use dope. Due to my addiction, I've been homeless many times. There was a night I slept right here in front of this building because there was a light on, and I could hide myself from the road. You have nobody to trust, no one to run to. You kind of got to sleep with one eye open. People will rob you. There's people that get stabbed here all the time. Everybody's using everybody. Everybody's hurting somebody. And eventually, sometimes it can end in someone killing another person. There's been many times that I've walked the streets late at night and someone would grab me. I can't believe that I got out of it. I do a lot of trading. I find stuff for people and donate it or trade it for cash or, lump some dope, whatever. This is a dumpster, for example. I'm looking here and sometimes I'll just fill the bag. There's some good finds in here. I'd actually like to put a suit on and jump in here. And I would, I'm not afraid. That looks like purses. And I'm gonna grab it. They might not be all purses, but there's definitely a purse in here. Look at that, brand new spanking purse. I've become addicted, I look forward to it. It's like treasure hunting. I find treasures. People call it dumpster diving, I call it treasure hunting. The garbage cans here are packed. People throw away everything. A lot of food gets put out here that they don't want, like cans of food, fruit, bags of bread. You look at the date, if it's brand new, yeah, take it, why not? I've been pretty hungry before. I've eaten fruit out of the garbage, and it's embarrassing, but when you're hungry, you'll eat just about anything.
He invites failure at every step he takes by neglecting to exercise the caution to observe what causes people to fail.
For example, if they watch their narcissist father terrorize the whole family during their childhood, and they didn't learn from their father's mistakes, they will grow up and repeat those mistakes, ultimately creating the same sort of environments in their own lives.
He invites fear in all its forms by his lack of caution in examining the causes of fear.
Fear is comprised of illusions created within the mind. So the cause of fear would be your thoughts. The mind is the battlefield where the devil attacks because he knows that if he can control your thoughts, he can plant seeds of false evidence that appears real to the mind and incite fear.
He fails in marriage because he neglects to use caution in his choice of a mate. And he uses still less caution in his methods of relating himself to her after marriage.
Treat me like shit!
I don't treat you like shit, Doug. I've been trying to get you to get help with me. Over and over, I want us to get help.
Everybody else thinks it's you.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they actually fucking do.
What you're doing right now is abusive. I've told you 3 or 4 times.
What you're doing is not. What you're doing is.
I'm not screaming at you or putting you down. I'm asking you to go away and calm down. Go away and calm down. You've had too much ride. You need to go away, calm down, give your head a shake, and sign us up for marriage counseling like I asked.
That is gonna be a nightmare for you. But any counselor that would have talked to you would have said, you need more counseling.
I'm glad that that's what you think, but all you're proving is that it's over.
I give a shit about your feelings. I
Doug!
A lot.
The police are on their way and I'd like you to leave. Car.
Cops on me? Again?
Yeah, because I'm locked in the bathroom and I'm scared of you.
I'm not leaving without my stuff, so I'm...
Well, then grab your stuff and get going.
That's gonna take a while.
He loses his friends or converts them into enemies by his lack of caution in relating himself to them on the proper basis.
Nigga!
If I'm a pussy, what are you?
With your right career that went nowhere. That's what you're mad at the world, pussy.
Oh, I'm mad at the world?
You're mad at the world, pussy.
Damn.
Rich Numa. Rich, let me tell you something. I looked at your page. I checked out your raps and your style. Salute, bro. Salute, bro. Rich Numa, salute, salute. Your craft, salute your work. I see you be getting busy, man. Keep doing your thing, bro. Keep doing your thing.
Are all people lacking in caution? No. Only those who have acquired the habit of drifting. The non-drifter always uses caution.
Almost done. Smell good, don't they?
Yeah.
I'd ask you to sit down, but you're not going to anyway. And don't worry about the vase.
What vase?
That vase.
I'm sorry.
I said don't worry about it. I'll get one of my kids to fix it.
How did you know?
Oh, what's really going to bake your noodle later on is, would you still have broken it if I hadn't said anything? You're cuter than I thought.
He carefully thinks his plans through before he begins them. He makes allowances for the human frailties of his associates and plans ahead to bridge them.
You know why Morpheus brought you to see me. So, what do you think? Do you think you're the one?
Honestly, I don't know.
You know what that means? It's Latin. Means no, no, no. Thyself, thyself, thyself.
If he sends a messenger on an important mission, he sends someone else to make sure the messenger does not neglect his mission. Then he checks on both of them to be sure his wishes have been fulfilled.
Morpheus. He almost had me convinced.
I know. Poor Morpheus. Without him, we're lost.
What do you mean, without him?
Are you sure you want to hear this? Morpheus believes in you, Neo. And no one, not you, not even me, can convince him otherwise. He believes it so blindly that he's going to sacrifice his life to save yours.
What?
You're going to have to make a choice. In the one hand, you'll have Morpheus's life. And in the other hand, you'll have your own. Here. Take a cookie. I promise by the time you're done eating it, you'll feel right as rain.
What was said was for you, and for you alone.
He takes nothing for granted, where caution provides a way to ensure his success.
Isn't over-caution as detrimental as lack of caution?
There is no such thing as over-caution. What you call over-caution is an expression of fear. Fear and caution are two entirely different things.
Don't people mistake fear for over-caution?
Yes, that does sometimes happen. But the majority of people create for themselves far more disastrous hazards by total lack of the habit of caution than by over-caution.
In what way may caution be used most advantageously?
In the selection of one's associates, and in one's method of relating oneself to associates.
They're inside.
The reason for this is obvious. One's associates constitute the most important part of one's environment, and environmental influences determine whether one forms the habit of drifting, or becomes a non-drifter. The person who exercises due caution in the choice of associates never allows himself to be closely associated with any person who does not bring to him, through the association, some definite mental, spiritual, or economic benefit.
Isn't that method of choosing associates selfish?
It is sensible and leads to self-determination. It is the desire of every normal person to find material success and happiness. Nothing contributes more to one's success and happiness than carefully chosen associates. Caution in the selection of associates becomes, therefore, the duty of every person who wishes to become happy and successful. The drifter allows his closest associates to attach themselves to him on their own terms. The non-drifter carefully selects his associates and allows no one to become closely associated with him unless that person contributes some form of helpful influence or bestows some definite benefit.
It never occurred to me that caution in the selection of friends had so definite a bearing on one's success or failure. Do all successful people exercise caution in the selection of all their associates, whether in business, social, or professional relationships?
Without the exercise of caution in the choice of all associates, no one may be certain of success in any calling. On the other hand, lack of exercise of caution brings almost certain defeat in whatever one undertakes.
So there's no way to ensure that you will be successful when you fail to exercise caution. But failing to exercise caution most definitely ensures that you will be defeated. Okay?
Summary. 3 things connected with my interview with the devil interest me most. These 3 factors interest me because they have been the most important influences in my own life, a fact which any listener of my story can easily discern. The 3 important factors are the habit of drifting, the law of hypnotic rhythm through which all habits are made permanent, and the element of time. Here is a trio of forces which hold inviolate the destinies of all men. The 3 take on a new and more important meaning when they are grouped and studied as a combined force.
So what we've learned is that developing the habit of daydreaming or quote unquote drifting is giving the devil access to your mind, okay? And doing this over a certain period of time allows the law of hypnotic rhythm to take those thoughts, create a hypnotic pattern such as the one we see on the screen, thereby trapping you in a repetitive cycle of negative behaviors created by those thoughts. This loop of hypnotic rhythm is what comprises the internal environment of the mind of a narcissist.
It takes but little imagination and scarcely any understanding of natural laws for one to see that most of the difficulties in which people find themselves are of their own making. Moreover, difficulties seldom are the outgrowth of immediate circumstances. They are generally the climax of a series of circumstances which have been consolidated through the habit of drifting and with the aid of time.
In other words, disasters don't just happen as a result of an immediate circumstance that has happened. They usually are a result of thinking the same negative thoughts over a period of time, allowing those thoughts to affect your behavior, repeating those negative behaviors over and over again until they accumulate and ultimately end in disaster. Okay?
Samuel Insull did not lose his $4 billion industrial empire as the result of the Depression. He began losing it long before the Depression, when he became the victim of a group of women who flattered him into turning his talents from public utilities to grand opera. If ever a man in a high position in the financial world went down because of the power of drifting, hypnotic rhythm, and time, that man was Samuel Insull. I am writing from accurate knowledge of Mr. Insull and the cause of his troubles dating from the time that I served with him during the World War to the time of his ill-advised attempt to run away from himself. Henry Ford went through the same depression that swept Mr. Insull under, but Ford came out on top without a scratch. Do you want to know the reason? I'll tell you. Ford has the habit of not drifting on any subject. Time is Ford's friend, because he has formed the habit of using it in a positive, constructive manner, with the aid of thoughts of his own making, woven into plans of his own creation. Take any circumstance you wish. Measure it with reference to its relationship to the habit of drifting, hypnotic rhythm, and time, and you may ascertain accurately the cause of all success and all failure.
So if you grew up in a dysfunctional household, and the memories of what you saw growing up traumatized you, these are the negative thoughts and memories that the devil repeatedly pulls you back into when you give him access to your mind by drifting. Your emotional connection to the trauma is what gives those thoughts the power to be made manifest over and over again. Hence the loop of hypnotic rhythm. Okay?
Franklin D. Roosevelt went into office with a bang during his first term. He had but one major purpose in mind, and that was very definite. It was to stop the stampede of fear and start people to thinking and talking in terms of business recovery instead of business depression. In carrying out that purpose, there was no drifting. The forces of the entire nation were consolidated and moved as one to help carry out the president's definite purpose. For the first time in the history of America, the newspapers of all political leanings, the churches of all denominations, the people of all races and colors, and the political organizations of all brands united themselves into one stupendous power for the sole purpose of helping the president restore faith and normal business relationships in the country.
All because he was able to convince the people who were unconsciously co-creating this reality with him to change their minds.
In a conference held between the president and a group of emergency advisors a few days after he went into office, I asked him what was his major problem. He replied, "It is not a question of majors and minors. We have but one problem, and that is to stop fear and supplant it with faith."
Which is also my purpose for doing this book study.
Before the end of his first year in office, the president had stopped fear and supplanted it by faith, and the nation was slowly but surely on the way out of the jungle of depression. By the end of his first term, mark well the element of lapse of time, the president had so effectively consolidated the forces of American business and private life that he had an entire nation in back of him, ready, willing, and enthusiastically desirous of following his lead, no matter which way he went. These are facts well known to everyone who reads newspapers or listens to the radio. Then came another presidential election and the opportunity for the people to express their faith in their leader. They expressed it in a landslide without precedent in American politics, and the president went into office a second time with an almost unanimous electorate vote, with only 2 states meekly dissenting. Now observe how the wheel of life began to reverse itself and turn back in the other direction. The president changed his policy from definiteness of purpose to indefiniteness and drifting. His change of policy split the powerful labor group and turned more than half of it against him. It split the almost solid following he held in both houses of Congress, and more important than all this, it split the American people into pro- and anti-groups, with the result that about all the president had left of his original political assets was his $1 million smile and his ready handshake. Obviously not enough to enable him to regain the power he once wielded in American life. Here, then, we have an excellent example of a man who skyrocketed to great power through definiteness of purpose and belly flop to the starting point by his habit of drifting.
So basically, when he came out with a definite focus on his own agenda, he was able to get the people to cooperate with no resistance. But for the second term, he allowed the people to voice their opinions on what should be happening. And this resulted in drifting by inviting the opinions of other people instead of staying focused on your own agenda.
In both his rise and his fall can be seen clearly the operation of the principles of drifting and non-drifting reaching a climax through the power of hypnotic rhythm and time. All my life, the devil had a dramatic story to tell of his dealings with me. He saw me drift in and out of scores of business opportunities for which many would have given a king's ransom. He saw me drifting in my policy of relating myself to others, particularly in my lack of caution in business dealings. The circumstance which saved me from fatal control of the law of hypnotic rhythm was the definiteness of purpose with which, at long last, I dedicated my entire life to the organization of a philosophy of individual achievement.
That philosophy of individual achievement is apparent in his body of work aimed at helping individuals achieve success.
I drifted at one time or another on all my minor whims and endeavors, but my drifting was offset by my major purpose, which was sufficient to restore my courage and start me once more in the quest of knowledge every time I was defeated in connection with my minor aims. I learned something of the hazardous nature of the habit of drifting while engaged in analyzing more than 25,000 people in connection with the organization of the law of success. These analyses showed that only 2 out of every 100 have a definite major aim in life. The other 98 were caught by the habit of drifting.
So only 2% of the population has a definite purpose. So the rest of the society, like in my dream about the time of change, are subjected to drifting and thereby being possessed by the devil and caught up in hypnotic rhythm. Okay?
It seems more than a coincidence that my analyses clearly corroborated the devil's claim that he controls 98 out of every 100 people because of their habit of drifting. Looking back over my own career, I can see clearly that I could have avoided the majority of the temporary defeats with which I met if I had been definitely following a plan for the attainment of my major purpose in life.
Like this book study grew out of my definite purpose to slay the narc demon and to release the tight grip that he has over 98% of the minds of the people.
From my experience in having analyzed the problems of more than 5,000 families, I know definitely that the majority of married people who get out of harmony with each other do so because of the accumulation of a great number of little circumstances in their married relationship, which could have been cleared up and disposed of as they arose if there had been a definite policy to do so.
And since the narcissist blocks out any healthy form of communication which is essential to a healthy relationship, there's no policy in place for how you're going to deal with the problems, so the problems don't get dealt with. They accumulate over time and eventually end up being the demise of the relationship.
They do not live their married life with definiteness of purpose. So the story has gone, all back down the ages. The man with the most definite plan and purpose and the most power rides on to victory. The others scurry for cover and get crushed under the heels of those who are more determined. The answer is not hard to find. There is no use looking toward high heaven for it. For my part, I would prefer to seek the answer from the devil, for he would tell me quickly enough that victory goes to the people who know what they want and are determined to have it.
So victory is for those who set goals and remain focused on those goals until they have achieved them.
They have mastered the habit of drifting. They have definite policies, definite plans, and definite objectives. Their opposition, which may outnumber them very greatly, has no chance against them, because the opposition has no plan, no purpose, no policy, except that of drifting along, hoping that something may turn up to help them.
Those people are being used as pawns in the game being played by the devil.
In those 3 brief sentences, you have the sum and the substance of the difference between success and failure, power and lack of it. We come now near to the end of our visit through this book. If we were to try to state in one brief sentence the most important part of that which I have tried to convey through the book, it would be something like this. One's dominating desires can be crystallized into their physical equivalents through definiteness of purpose backed by definiteness of plans, with the aid of nature's law of hypnotic rhythm and time.
In other words, thoughts become things when you have a definite goal. You have a definite focus on that goal. You have a plan for how you're going to achieve that goal. And over time, allowing hypnotic rhythm to make the thoughts of your goal permanent, those thoughts will affect your emotions, which is the energy and motion needed to push those goals from within the recesses of your mind out into material reality. Okay?
There you have the positive phase of the philosophy of individual achievement I've tried to describe through this book, brought down to an irreducible minimum of brevity and simplicity. If you expand the philosophy for the purpose of adapting it to the circumstances of life, you find that it is as broad as life itself, that it covers all human relationships, all human thoughts, aims, and desires. So here we are, at the end of the strangest of all the thousands of interviews I have had with the great and the near great, over a period of 50 years of labor in my search for the truths of life that lead to happiness and economic security. How strange indeed that after having had active cooperation from men such as Carnegie, Edison, and Ford, I should have been compelled, finally, to go to the devil for a working knowledge of the greatest of all the principles uncovered in my quest for truth. How strange that I was forced to experience poverty and failure and adversity in 100 forms before being given the privilege of understanding and using a law of nature which softens the thrust of these wicked weapons or wipes them out altogether. But the strangest of all this dramatic experience which life has provided me is the simplicity of the law through which, if I had understood it, I could have transmuted my desires into substantial form without having to undergo so many years of hardship and misery.
And now that you understand it, you can transmute your desires into substantial form without having to go through so many years of hardship and misery.
I find now, at the end of my interview with the devil, that I had been carrying in my own pockets the matches with which the fires of adversity were being touched off. And I find, too, that the water with which those fires were finally extinguished was at my command in great abundance.
So the seeds of adversity as well as abundance already exist within your own mind and are effectively utilized according to the energy, frequency, and vibration of your own thoughts.
I searched for the philosopher's lodestone with which failure may be converted into success, only to learn that both success and failure are the results of day-to-day evolutionary forces through which dominating thoughts are pieced together bit by bit and woven into the things we want or the things we do not want, according to the nature of those thoughts. How unfortunate that I did not understand this truth from the time that I reached the age of reason, for if I had understood it then, I might have been able to go around some of the hurdles I've been forced to jump as I walked through the valley of the shadow of life.
Now that you have been given the understanding, you will be able to go around a lot of the hurdles that face you as you head towards your own goals.
The story of my interview with the devil is now in your hands. The benefits you will receive from it will be in exact proportion to the thought it inspires in you.
So the only way to benefit from what's being taught here is to allow the teachings to change the quality, the energy, frequency, and vibration of your thoughts.
To benefit from listening to the interview, you need not agree with every portion of it. You have only to think and to reach your own conclusions concerning every part of it. How reasonable that is.
My conclusion after paralleling the behavior of the narcissist alongside the behavior of the devil is that they are identical in nature, thereby proving my theory that narcissism is a form of demonic possession. And now that you have this very vital information,
you are the judge and the jury and the attorney for both the prosecution and the defense. If you do not win your case, the loss and the cause thereof will be yours.
And this ends the Dissecting the Devil book study, my people. We have officially dissected Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. I do hope that everything that has been learned during the study will benefit you going forward, providing you with the tools necessary to know how to avoid interacting with the narc demon and to more easily achieve your personal goals. There were 33 lessons total, 33 being the number of the master builder. My challenge to you, my people, is to use the tools provided to you during this study to go out and build yourself a new reality, fully comprised of a no-narc network. Peace.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.